Dr. Kaseri, what is gender affirming care when it comes to your work?
In terms of, as Dr. Howell mentioned, we talk about social affirmation, but there are other avenues to explore in terms of affirming your gender identity. Some of that may be maybe by medicine, some of that might be by surgery, and some of that might be by legal document where you change your gender marker. I often teach this to medical students. I find it fascinating as I grew older and I learned more and I started changing my verbiage when talking about gender and sexuality. It was so eye-opening to see what the youth responds with. If you allow a safe space for a child to exist where you take the parent out of the room and you're allowing them to express themselves, you'd be surprised by what the response you get. But it's often followed with, yes, but can you please not tell my parent yet? Or can you please keep this between us? So there's a lot of complexity to the conversation.
School is often, as we hear from our kids, the place where they feel the safest.
Executive Director Nathan Brummer works for Also Youth, a safe place for LGBTQIA kids to reach out for help. The group was part of the district's task force.
It follows the best practices that are being implemented across districts across the nation. Provide for a case-by-case approach at the school site, given enough guidance to an administrator to do what they should do in taking care of all students, and giving them a little bit of leeway to work with the family if it's appropriate. They break big news to teachers because they've built the trust with those teachers.
Good evening, board. My name is Alexis Spiegelman, Moms for Liberty, Sarasota County. Regarding a discussion that took place in March of 2021,
Debbie Jackalone, Penny Reedinger, and Jane Goodwin
led the Zoom where they discussed guidelines for promoting safe and inclusive schools.
And we're not talking policies and procedures, we are talking guidelines, and I think that's an important point to make if your district is also thinking of doing the same.
One of the questions that you might want to answer right now was that, do we make accommodations for people who would get upset with our allowing a student to use the bathroom of their choice? And I said, no, I didn't think we did that.
So Jane, do you mean if a female, there was a student who was using a male bathroom who was biological female and the males were upset about that, do we accommodate those? Is that what the question is?
Yeah.
Now he is saying his daughter was sexually assaulted by a male student wearing a skirt in a girl's bathroom. The Loudoun County Sheriff's Office confirmed the case reportedly, and the student was reportedly arrested.
I'm here for my daughter, Ella, who goes to Sarasota High. She's a freshman, by the way. She then told me that she avoids drinking water or any liquid at school so that she doesn't have the need to use the bathroom. There's actually sex happening in the bathrooms and other things like selling drugs. And that I find out from a friend who had 2 children who went there, and she told me, yes, that's like a happening thing. And my kids never went to the bathroom in 4 years.
So once again, we are purposely vague.
Jane was careful to point out distinctions between policy and procedures and guidelines. Policy and procedures, that is the work that happens in the public view or in the sunshine. The guidelines were described best by Ms. Goodwin.
Procedures don't have to go before a school board. Policies do. And so I say to school boards, remember that, because sometimes it might be easier to start with doing the work of training and doing some of that work with the schools and with the students and not bring as much to the school district, because we have a wide range of views from our community as to what work we should be doing. So I will leave it at that.
Ms. Goodwin, we began working on this project over 10 years ago.
We had a superintendent who really didn't want to talk about this work or do this work. Move ahead several years.
Extremely unhappy with the choice, saying the other candidates are more experienced. Also saying, I don't believe they ever had any intention of picking someone other than Bowden all along.
Because these are guidelines and not policy, the superintendent can act without board approval.
And the one thing that I wanted his tenure to start with was to speak to D. Palazzo.
D. Palazzo.
Good evening, Ms. Reyna. What a pleasure it is to be with you. So Equality Florida works on political things.
We rise up together against division and the forces of hate in this country. An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. We show up. We speak up. And when you vote, we win. We vote for equality.
Yeah, this I could talk about forever, Ms. Reyna, because it's so important and it's not a heavy lift.
So Equality Florida takes care of everything. Is it everything in Florida that's LGBTQ concerned, or is it just certain?
And so I arranged that, and it happened.
You do not need permission from your parent or anyone else to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, intersect, or asexual.
It doesn't sit well with one board member. She reached out to 10 News reporter Isabel Mascareñas to make the public aware of these new rules and the role parents won't be playing.
The superintendent works for the board works for the people. We all can support having a safe environment for our students, free from bullying, free from harassment. That is something that we will work on and create a culture, but that doesn't mean cutting out and sideswiping or ripping away the rights of parents.